Hello and welcome back to your South King County real estate update. Today is Saturday, October 16th. And this is a little makeup session. Had a little bit of a schedule interruption yesterday. So just wanted to make sure that we hit the show this week and got this information out to you. So I'll go ahead and jump right into the slides. So my name is Sarah Eggleston with Stone Egg Realty at John L. Scott, and this is your South King County real estate update. Happy belated Blue Friday. I made these slides yesterday because the show was supposed to be yesterday, but I'll touch on that schedule interruption in a minute. But tomorrow, the Seahawks will play at 5:20 Pacific time. So make sure to tune in for that. And thank you for everybody that came out last weekend to my pumpkin patch event. The pumpkin patch party was super fun. The cider was delicious. We had fun games. And the first 2 hours, we actually had fantastic weather. And then the heavens opened and there was torrential downpour. So we got pretty soaked at the end and packed up a few minutes early, but it was a really fun event and I will definitely be doing it again next year. So what happened this week? I am happy to announce that we did close on the Renton Avenue house in Seattle yesterday. There was, when I was prepping for my show, I got a message from escrow or missed a call and saw the voicemail saying, hey, we need one more thing signed from your sellers. And I'm like, okay, it's like 1:15 and the cutoff for funding is like 2 p.m. because that takes place on the East Coast. So I'm like, this is not going to happen if they need this before they fund. So we got the lender to agree to send the funds over, but escrow had to promise not to release for recording until we had this signed document. So that gave us a couple extra hours or like an extra hour and a half. So as long as we got it in by 3:30, and we got it in at like 2:50, we were good to close yesterday. So we did end up closing. I'm very excited for my sellers. It's been a long process and it's nice to be at the end of it. We started talking a couple months before they actually listed because they needed to clear out the house and they found another place to move to so that they could vacate the house that we were selling. And yeah, happy to call that closed, and the buyer is super stoked and the sellers are super stoked. So that was a win all around. But I will go ahead and jump back into this. So this came from Seattle Met a couple days ago. And is Seattle poised for a real estate comeback? The farther you go from Seattle, the more dramatic the market, but downtown Seattle is still experiencing a resurgence. So this whole past almost 2 years now, year and a half, since the pandemic hit, downtown Seattle real estate, especially at the beginning, was hit really hard. There was a lot of people when there's a lot of uncertainty in people's lives, people don't make big decisions about making moves and where to move to and all that. So there was a lot of people that took their homes off the market at the very beginning of the pandemic. And there was like no buyers, no sellers, very little was happening. That lasted about a month and a half. And once people realized, oh, this is kind of more of a long-term thing, decided that they wanted a little bit more space. And if they lived in a condo in Seattle, there's a good chance that they moved to a house either in South King County or Snohomish or Pierce County, since they no longer had to commute to work. So that is definitely something we've seen. But the downtown condo market, it was hit really hard, and it took a lot longer for it to bounce back. While residential real estate, it was hard to come across homes that were on the market more than like 5 days for a while there. As things are opening up in Seattle, restaurants, shows, all that, people are opening up to the idea of being downtown a little bit more, maybe not with as much personal space like a condo rather than single family home outside the city. And King County, there were definitely different pockets that reacted differently to the pandemic. Like I said, Seattle was kind of dropped on home values and sales and everything, while the rest of King County was like kind of exploded. So the King County had a 6.7% increase in the median sales price compared to this time in 2020. But that is, like I said, very locally specific. Pierce, Kitsap, and Snohomish County were between 16 and 19% increase. You could see the 6.7% increase in the King County area, with Seattle being the main area that's dragging that down, compared to the 16 to 19% increase in surrounding counties. You can see exactly where people are moving to. And there are a few factors that play. Like I said, the whole not having to commute as often, and that really that was a huge one, but that allowed people to venture out and not have to commute into town, at least not 5 days a week. Maybe it's 3 days a week or 2. And so in Seattle, there were a couple pockets, like Northeast Seattle with its light rail station. They did see an increase in demand and price over that way. But the East Side saw 22.6% increase in sales price, especially in Newcastle and Issaquah and Kirkland. That's insane. That's almost a quarter addition on your investment. So that's pretty crazy. But condos are pretty much changing right now. People are moving back as things open up in that area. Pending sales increased 36.7% in downtown and Belltown compared to last year. So remember, they weren't buying condos last year, but this is definitely showing that we are having a comeback of the condo. Demand has always been there. There's always been people that want condos in Seattle, but now that is coming back a little bit more intensely. As people go for these condos more and more, as the demand increases for these condos, we may see prices for those condos go up. But it really opened up, having the price drop for a short period of time in Seattle gave people that may have wanted to live in Seattle that couldn't afford to prior, they got an opportunity to move in. So it increased the economic diversity in Seattle and really just opened up new opportunities for people that still wanted to do the condo thing. Coastal beach towns coastal properties are also experiencing a crazy demand. There was, Jefferson County, which includes Fort Townsend, and increased 20.7% on home values. Clallam County saw a biggest jump of the year this month at very close to 30% increase year over year. And Seattle, when we compare it to other big cities, it definitely holds its own. Seattle increased 25.5% on home values year over year. This is the greater Seattle area. And other areas nationally, the average was 19.7%. So Seattle's definitely ahead of the nation on price increases. And what about rent? So rent has definitely been going up. There's a 12% jump in Seattle rent from this time last year. So we had that big dip in Seattle home values that translated to rent. People didn't want to rent in downtown Seattle as much as they did the year prior. So now we were seeing a 12% jump from where we were last year, but keeping in mind that we were at a pretty depressed state as far as condo people wanting to live in downtown Seattle last year. Seattle's rent is still higher than Kent and Renton, but Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, Bothell, and Issaquah are definitely giving it a run for its money at this point. So we can definitely see that East Side tech hub rent increase, the home values increase over there. Like that area is just super high demand for people that have a lot of money because they work in the tech industry. So that's something I think that we can continue to expect as we move forward. Which brings us to our market stat minute. In the last 7 days, we had 781 new listings, 1,022 pendings, and 891 sold. So we did tick up in all categories just slightly from last week. And this is a chart I haven't really talked about much on this show. This is the Alan Pope charts. He is an appraiser, and he puts out these fantastic charts that show over time. This one's net pending sales and inventory. So if we zoom in closer to what's going on right now, the net pending sales is in red and inventory is in blue. And you can see before the pandemic, we had more inventory than net pending sales. And now that is not the case and hasn't been since May of 2020. So this red line has been far outpacing the blue line. So we're eating up inventory super fast. It comes on the market and it sells fairly quickly. So we're still short on inventory. I mean, look at how many homes were coming on in May and June, July of last year compared to how many came on May, June, and July of this year. So we're just really behind on inventory for what we would expect to see this time of year. And this is another one. The green is sold, light green is for sale, and the red line is pended. So this is just a different view of the same data. This is South King County, but this, you can see the pended line is still up way higher than it was this time, well, around the beginning of the year. So we generally expect to have more pendings as we go into the spring and summer, and then start to head back down in the winter. So that could be the case of what happens here, but we've been kind of in a wonky market. So I think we can expect to see higher than seasonally average sales this winter. Months of inventory, you can see back in March, we had 0.3 months inventory. So we've got double that now. So this is a theoretical number. If no new homes came on the market as of right now, and the homes kept selling at the same pace, we'd run out of homes in 0.6 months. And this is for sale values, and the red line is sold home values for average sale price. And you can see that our for sale average has just ticked down slightly in South King County, but it is, remaining steady from last month as opposed to the steady increase that we've seen throughout the year. And our solds did tick down in value a little bit as well. So this is just that winter market coming about, making its entrance into the market. Showing traffic remains pretty steady, just ticking down ever so slightly from the week before. Interest rates last week were at 2.99%. This week, mortgage rates jumped to 3.05. And this one actually, when this came out on Thursday, rates had remained they're pretty volatile. So they went up at the beginning of the week and then came back down, but now they've gone a little bit back up again. We're just following this for our daily mortgage rate for, that's the wrong slide. But our average weekly rate was 3.05 this week compared to the 2.99 last week. And if we jump into this, no mortgage rates are not sharply higher this week, as a lot of people reported. This is that weekly average. It's like a Monday to Monday or Tuesday to Tuesday comparison, depending on the week. Yeah, this was from 2 days ago. Mortgage rates did fall 2 days ago, and it was the biggest improvement of the week. But yesterday, this one came out. Are rates doomed to continue higher because they went up yesterday? And in a word, maybe. This article, I'm going to try my best to quickly explain this, but this article was pretty in-depth. And if this type of information interests you, definitely follow the link that I will post in the description. This article is fascinating if this really is your thing. Mortgage rates are kind of related to the bond market. So the Fed doesn't have control over actual mortgage rates, but they control the bond market, which then influences mortgage rates. Some of it's speculative, some of it's real numbers. It's a very complicated topic to get into all the different things that affect mortgage rates. But one of the things that we can boil it down to in the last year and a half of what's been going on with mortgage rates is it kind of follows the COVID cases. So rates went up as the COVID cases went down. And then as COVID cases started to go up again, rates came back down. So we have an inverse thing going on. As COVID cases get worse, our interest rates get better. And as COVID cases get better, interest rates get worse. Inflation is another thing we need to keep an eye on as far as interest rates. But I really thought this example outlined it pretty clearly. If the price of everything is increasing at 4% annually, would you purchase a bond that pays only 3% annually? Not if you had other investment options. Your lack of demand would contribute to bond sellers gradually lowering their prices, which in the bond market is the same thing as offering higher rates of return. So this is something I've tried to convey a lot, but this explains it better than I have been able to in the past. So as far as inflation, this is obviously one of the things that COVID has done to mess it up. There was a whole bunch of money pumped into the market. It's, again, a complicated thing that I don't want to get too deeply into right now, but you can see this is the core annual consumer price index. So it's a year-over-year comparison, but it's one of the main ways that inflation is measured. So you can see we have jumped up pretty high here to 4.5 and then came down to about 4. But this is higher than we would want to see, but we have a lot of reasons for that, I guess. Lots happened over the last year and a half. So if it weren't for the inflation surge, rates would be very close to all-time lows. So this is basically what it boils down to. Looking forward, there does appear to be some volatility ahead on mortgage rates. So we'll kind of see what happens as that moves forward. But really, we have pretty good interest rates right now. It's not like, yeah, historically, they're crazy low. And they left us with a cliffhanger here. Does this mean rates are doomed by yet another fate? Yes and no. We'll examine this in greater detail next time. So make sure you stay tuned for next week's show if you're interested in what's happening with mortgage rates. And this will probably be my last plug for the Seahawks schedules. If you do want one, I still have some left. Just shoot me a message with the address that you would like me to send it to, or we can arrange for you to pick it up at my office. Either way, we'll figure it out. But if you want one, just let me know. I have plenty. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I would love to have a conversation with you about real estate and what's happening in the market in your specific area. But I will be back here Friday of next week with another episode of your South King County Real Estate Update. And until then, have a fantastic week. Make sure to like and subscribe so you see these videos in the future, and invite your friends. All right, have a great week, and I'll see you on Friday.